this bloke is one of the all-time greats of his era, two-time premiership player, 311 games, shin boner of the century, needs no introduction. Glenn Archer.
Great to have you on the
Thanks
show.
for coming on. We always like to kick off the chat with just rolling out some of the highlights for the younger people in the audience who haven't maybe seen you play. And I mean, you were your whole heart. I mean, you were an unbelievable player. Is it true? Is it true that Dennis Pagan, who became such a mentor of yours, and we'll talk to you about him a bit later, is it true that he had to work pretty hard to get you to come down to Arden Street?
Yeah, he probably rang the house about 10 times.
10?
And I kept saying no.
Was it ringing from the coach's box?
Why didn't you want to go down straight?
I just didn't think I was good enough. I actually did 3 weeks of pre-season and I felt like I was out of my depth, so I just went back to Noble Park. I was very happy playing at Noble Park, got $100 cash a week.
Yeah, that's actually one of the few highlights of you kicking a drop punt, by the way, Arthur.
Replay that.
So you weren't overly ambitious, so you never had your eye on playing at the top level?
No, I did. I just didn't think I was good enough. So I actually had enough one night and said to my girlfriend, now wife, I'm just going to go down and play one game and then I'm heading back to Noble Park. So I went down, played one game, enjoyed it, kicked a couple of goals as a forward back then. And then I realised that they were playing Sydney the following week.
Yep.
And I'd never been on a plane before, so I thought... I thought I might hang around for one more week.
This is a fascinating insight into the mind of Glenn Archer.
So I enjoyed that, and I was there 17 years later. So if it wasn't for Dennis Pagan's persistence, I'm not sure where I would have ended up.
No one was harder at the football than you. How have you pulled up after, you say, 17 years at the top level? Is the body bunged up? Are you generally okay?
I'm very lucky.
How's your hand? Is your hand recovered? Because what happened at one stage? How did you do it? You were infected?
I busted my hand up pretty bad and had to go in for an operation. I was in hospital for about a week.
I know this to be true because the hospital I'm going to tell the story. The hospital you were in was the Epworth Hospital, and it was in Richmond. And anyway, there's a pub around the corner from the hotel. It's called the London Tavern. It's in Richmond. And I walked in there about, I don't know, as I do, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. For a knockoff, and I've walked in, there is no one else in the pub, and I look over and there's Glenn Archer standing there in a hospital gown, drinking a pot, a cigarette in one hand with a stent still in his arm, and I go, he's like this, and I go, mate, what happened? He goes, I'm at the Epworth, I'm bored shitless. And that was it. You just checked yourself out of the hotel, of the hospital, and ended up there in the afternoon. True?
Yeah, it is true, because I busted my hand, had the operation, and I struggled that week. But then I got golden staph, so I had to go back. For those who don't know, golden staph's obviously deadly, but it's not painful. So you just got to sit there.
Deadly, but I may as well have a couple.
I believe the pain's very similar to getting a tattoo.
Hey, you pushed through the sort of courage of all of these things that you're required to do, and that led you to be the shin boner of the century. And it was the way you played your footy. I mean, you were unbelievably fearless and you were unbelievably competitive. Did you ever, I've always wanted to know, did you ever fear for your own safety? Did you ever let that sort of enter your own mind?
No, not really. Probably because I had so many hits in the head. But no,
that was Lenny Hayes. Look
at that. Welcome to the big leagues, Lenny Hayes. That was his first game.
It was.
Did you set out to do that? Was that a premeditated welcome aboard?
No, we just ran into each other at that particular time. But
so you just blocked it out, like places you were throwing yourself, you just convinced yourself that you had to go, and that was the non-negotiable.
No, particularly early, I didn't really think about it all that much. As I got a bit older, and I started to probably not put myself in them situations as much. But it was generally innate. You just put yourself in that situation and hope for the best.
How were you before a game, mate? How were you before a game? In terms of how you were feeling, a ritual, what did you do?
I struggled before games. Used to throw up before most games. Sort of going back to...
What for? What was it?
Nervousness, yeah.
I thought before most shows here, but it's more dodgy kebab. Are you serious? So you used to get that nerve because you get onto the field and you look like you own it, but beforehand, what are you thinking? What is it?
Yeah, well, that was probably my problem. I used to think too much, and I used to think about the negatives too much. I used to do a lot of visualisation. My visualisation was basically around, if my man kicks 10, we're going to lose. And probably not the greatest way to go about it.
Good positive stuff from you. There's a wonderful clip here of your wife talking about a pre-game ritual, and Bruce McAvaney weighs in at the end as well, Arch.
She'll love this.
Was he any more nervous today before any other game?
Yeah, he's very nervous. Went for a swim before he played and...
Went for a swim, eh? He's a tough boy.
It's Bruce getting into you, mate. That's before your 300th game.
Were you going for a swim in shark-infested waters, mate?
Did you say shark-infested waters?
Baby shark.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that visualisation stuff because we know you hated losing a contest or like a one-on-one. You absolutely hated it, and it was fascinating to watch how it bubbled over. And sometimes, and we'll see in a moment, how Lee Brown. Sometimes your teammates had to protect you from yourself. You hated this, didn't you? Like,
Yes.
It's got to call a short fuse. Is that what we call white line syndrome? Is that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely the white line fever, and that was part of the nervousness as well.
Arch, could you not hear the whistle? These are all after the whistle, Arch.
I wouldn't have played too many games these days, but lots of it.
Actually, that's a good question. How do you think you'd go in the modern day? Do you think you'd be able to adapt?
No. I think the
Lee Brown has to protect you from yourself there. Hey, is it true that Dennis was so concerned about this, you know, the fact that maybe you might cross the line every now and again, that he got you to see a priest as some kind of counsellor to try and talk this inner rage out of yourself?
Yeah, he did. Well, we had a sports psychologist.
I hope he was an exorcist. Because it's a big job.
So you went to a priest?
Yeah, well, I didn't know he was a priest. He tried with the sports psychologist. He wasn't working. He goes, I want you to go see this guy, Danny Boulain. So I went down there and sat in front of this guy, and he explained his background. His background was he was a priest.
Okay.
Which wasn't a good start because I'm an atheist. So,
and then you jumper punched him.
No, but he was actually a really good guy, and I lasted about 6 weeks.
Right.
And
Did he fix you up?
no, he didn't.
Right.
I want to show you something that was, obviously we talk about short fuse, obviously amazing courage. This is 2002, Arch. It's you and Ben Harrison. You get into a bit of, you get into a wrestling match. It's up the back.
Off the ball.
Off the ball. There you are at the back, you and Ben Harrison. Now, it's fair to say that you probably got on top of Ben in the end.
What is going on?
What happened there? Did you both cop a fine?
Yes. Yeah, Ben got a $3,000 fine for doing zero, and I got a $4,500 fine. So I actually felt that bad because we went to the tribunal. We got done for wrestling, but they didn't pick up beforehand. I punched him in the head. I wrestled him to the ground through the frustration.
Kids,
and
don't do that.
So I felt so bad for him. I actually paid his fine. So.
And you paid his fine, so you paid your own fine and you paid his fine.
It was
I think that's the only
night.
time that's ever happened in AFL history.
Yeah, well, Wayne Jackson was the CEO at the time, and I said I'll if he agreed, that the money went to a charity, though. So,
Okay, right.
Very good.
need the tax deduction.
He's out in front.
Sort of takes the edge off the story a little bit. Of all the accolades that have been bestowed upon you and awards that you've won, to win a Norm Smith on a grand final day when you win the premiership, Arch, where does this sit in the things that you were good enough and fortunate enough to achieve on the way through?
Yeah, well, obviously sits very high because it's sort of confirmation that you did well that day.
Yep.
But it was one of them games, and this isn't being modest, they could have picked 8 guys that day to win the Norm Smith, but I'm pretty sure I actually didn't get a 3 vote that game.
Right.
Yeah, so I was made up with 2s and 1s. So this showed how even that contribution was.
That was an
during the day.
absolute farce.
Yeah.
To win a Norm Smith in a premiership side, it's
enormous.
You know, it's great. Where do you keep all those medals? Where are they?
The medals were at the tip. So, yeah, I accidentally threw my 2 premiership medals and my Norm Smith medal in the bin. So
And now, could you explain to me how that occurred?
Well, my daughter, Abby Archer, took him to school for show and tell.
Okay.
And I said, that's fine, just make sure you bring him back. And they're obviously something you don't look at every day. And it was probably 3 months after the fact I realised that they weren't sitting in my office. And then I clicked. It was probably, I'm not sure, a month before. Abby's bag was full of rubbish. I tipped all the rubbish onto the table, told her off for not respecting her staff, and pushed all the rubbish into the bin. And of course, the medals were in there. So.
That's to teach you a lesson, Abby.
The most amazing part of that story is that you've got an office. I didn't pick that one.
What are you getting at?
I didn't. Surprise.
I've got some good news for you.
What?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, because we heard that story. I went, we'll try and locate the bin and try and locate those medals. And I've got the bin here. We've actually located the bin. Here you put it in. We've gone through it, and we've got. And are you ready for this?
Oh, definitely.
You know what we found in it?
Oh, that's amazing.
This old banana. That's all. That's all. Oh, sorry, mate. Did you think we had the medals?
You can take that banana home.
Hey.
If you want, can't you?
Hey.
Your premiership side. Sorry about it. It's a bit unnecessary, wasn't it? Hey,
Just for a second, did you get your
just a
home?
second.
Oh, no! Terrible.
I was wondering why you asked me on the show. I thought
Hey, it was a great side. There were so many very, very, very tough players
super
in that
players.
side. None tougher than this bloke, Mickey Martin, who after the premiership was celebrating in fine style. Have a look at this. Oh, hey. That's how a hard man winds down after a premiership. Do you remember that night?
no.
Mickey, I think Dennis Pagan should have sent out the runner to take him off the dance floor that day.
It was actually not a bad move of the big man.
Do you think he's better than this guy?
Oh, no. We're not.
Hey!
Baby
Shut it, baby, shut it, baby, shut it.
Archie's going to stick around. Don't go anywhere. Ball with him on the other side of the break. Joe, great to have you with us here in the front bar. Thanks for the brewery, Fresh Carlton Grass, Glenn Archer, our special guest. Is it true? It's true, right? You grew up a pretty passionate Collingwood supporter.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Then I saw the light at about 18 and...
So you still got a soft spot for them?
No.
Right. Good. Well, that leads us into one of our favourite segments, Arch, Fresh from the Archives.
You would recognise this clip from the 1980 Escort Cup because you were there that night, am I right?
Yes, I
Now,
was.
one of these children running onto the ground after the final as Kerry Goods goes to kick the winning goal is you. Do you remember which of those children you are?
Someone showed me a photo. I reckon I can pick... I've got a blue shirt on and white hair.
Oh, well, no worries. Are you in there?
You reckon you're in there, Arch, do you?
I reckon I'm in there somewhere, yeah. So I was 7 years old.
You were 7 years old, You've jumped the fence. Were you there with your parents, obviously? Or?
I was with my brother. So he was 12, he was 5 years older, so he threw me over the fence. Because he'd heard the siren, he goes, the siren's gone! And so he jumped the fence. We ran out there trying to put Kerry Good off, and he kicked the goal.
Unlike the umpire, he heard the siren that night. That's amazing. You ran out on the ground for the 1980 Escort Cup, and you also ran out on the ground at the 1987 preliminary final out there at Waverley for Gary Buckenara's kick.
Yep, I spent a lot of time at Waverley.
Well, here we are here. Obviously, we all know.
We know who you are.
This is you here, Arch, in the...
in the pink and white.
Yes, in the pink and white. So there you are. You've probably got a picture of that up in your office. But how did you... Now, so why are you there? Because North or Collingwood, they're not playing there. Why are you there that day?
No, well, I lived across the road from Waverley, so I spent a lot of time there. I reckon I went to Waverley 200 times as a supporter and a player. I never paid once.
What?
Always straight over the fence. And so me and my mates used to jump the fence, run around Waverley Park, and I worked out my key for my locker at school fitted the catering locker. So I used to get... So
You're a bad kid. You're a bad kid.
So that used to take us down into the room. So we go down there at about half-time, knowing that the little leaguers are out there, so we'd eat a couple of their pies. then we ended up, on that particular game, we ended up down in the bench. We just walked straight down the bench, and they must have thought we were a director's son or something. And then the siren went, they all came off the bench onto the ground, so we followed them, and yeah, we were one of the first ones out there.
Do you know what? Kids were often involved in hijinks on the ground in those days. There's a famous day at Arden Street when a young girl rode an elephant. What's your memory of this day? Were you there, or have you just seen this like everyone else? Have a look. She knows she's in trouble here. Here goes the elephant. And, oh, God, this is not good. By the way, that elephant's run too far. Look at that. That is... Do you know what that is? Bad parenting. That is all I'll say.
We've shown that clip a lot on this show, and we love it. We never get sick of it. And we've always wondered what happened to the girl who was on top of that elephant back in 1978 at Arden Street. And through our investigative team here at the front bar, lo and behold, we have tracked that girl down. Please make her welcome, Sally Ann. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
When you watch that vision back, what are your memories like of that afternoon?
Oh, it's just a gift that keeps giving.
I bet it is.
Where was your mum? Can I ask, like, where was your mum?
Mum was in the social club and I was in the cheer squad.
Right.
And Mum was horrified that somebody could let their child go on an elephant.
So she looked down and said, there's a girl riding an elephant.
Yeah. And then went, that's my child.
So how did you... How long before you jumped on the back of the elephant did you know that you were going to be riding an elephant that day?
About a minute.
What? No, seriously, what
how
They came into the cheer squad and said, who wants to get on an elephant? And I went, pick me. And rest is history.
Gee, there was no public liability in those days.
No.
They were signing a release.
No.
You can't fire a T-shirt cannon into the crowd at that ground these days.
No, exactly.
But it was quite fine in those days to fish a girl out of the audience and pop her on a pachyderm.
Yep.
Sally, at what point here do you think your life's in some sort of peril? Tell us the exact moment.
When that trainer ran away, I thought, we're in a bit of trouble.
Because that elephant sort of partially went rogue there for a little while.
Yeah, and everyone sort of went everywhere and it was just like...
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but we've got you an elephant tonight. No, I'm joking. Now, you've gone quiet, Norley, so why aren't you... Why aren't you getting involved?
Well, I'm fascinated, but all week, right? All week, I got told, I said, who's on the show? And they said, Glenn Archer and Elephant Girl, right?
I am not an animal.
No, I didn't. Sally.
Well said, Sally.
So what I'm saying is I've prepared questions. I thought that the guest was like a half lady, half elephant. So I don't think you should ask them.
No, you prepared your questions. I want you to ask them.
So which one of your parents was human? Your mother? I don't think you want to...
What is wrong with you?
Sally, thanks for finally coming on.
Elephant Girl.
It's been a joy to meet you. We've had so much fun with that vision over the years, and it's an absolute delight to meet you. Thanks for being here. Join us on the show. You've met Elephant Lady and you've got a banana out of tonight. So it's been worthwhile, hasn't it, coming on?
It's been a great night.
Dennis Pagan, can we just talk about the influence that Dennis Pagan had? He's obviously a great mentor for yours. And I think at in your testimonial, he, in a brief little statement about you, showed everybody who'd gathered there exactly how he felt about you.
I think about Glenn Archer a hell of a lot. I think about the Monday mornings he used to come in and speak to me. I think about him discussing last Saturday's game. I think about him discussing his opponents for next week. I really miss those Mondays, Glenn.
How big an influence was he on your life now that you're a dad yourself and you look back on that relationship?
Yeah, huge. And I've said to Dennis, he was like a second father to me. And he got me at a stage in my life where it's the old sliding doors. If I went down one door, I'm not sure where I would have ended up.
In jail. Is the answer to that question.
Yeah, no, you're actually right. So I needed the real disciplinarian, and he was it. He
you can
dragged
see
me
the
back.
emotion in his voice there. And Pagan, he was a notoriously difficult character and coach. He could be very stern, but he clearly had time for you. Second father, yes, but it's pretty turbulent as well. Can I show you a bit of footage that I love? It's you arguing with him on the phone after he's pulled you off. You don't see this very often. A player... That's a player giving a coach a spray. Nah, get back here, son. He's not done, Pagan. And again... Do you remember what was being said on that occasion? Why you doing this? Fantastic.
No, I actually do, because I'd come back from a couple of weeks off, and before the game he'd said, you need to bring the aggression, you need to bring it early. So I did, gave away a free kick and a 50-metre penalty. He took me off the ground, and I got on the phone, and I was basically saying, you want me to be aggressive? No, you don't want me to be aggressive. Make up your mind.
Fair point. He must have been the perfect coach for that team, you know, from an outsider's perspective. That's what it seems to be. So he would have had to be hard, but obviously soft. In 1997, what happened in 1997 preliminary final, Glenn?
We lost. We lost by 10 goals.
Did you play?
I did not play that game, no.
No, you got suspended.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll just take you...
You and Wayne Schwass as well?
Wayne Schwass and yourself were unfortunately suspended for this game. There you are in the race.
Both of you?
Yeah, both of you there. Wayne Schwass on the right. Now, you start wandering off. Now, Dennis, as he's coming off the ground at the end of the game and you've lost, he turns to Wayne Schwass here with some very stern words. Something about you cost us. But... He's only saying that to Wayne Schwass. Why is that?
Well, I was standing next to Wayne and I could see Dennis coming down from his box onto the ground and his eyes were coming for us. And I said, I reckon we should get out of here. And he said, no, I'm staying. I said, well, good luck with that.
It's a smart decision.
Hey, your commitment to the footy club continues. You've been a board, you've been a director. Now you're on the subcommittee to find the next coach.
Yep.
Rhys Shaw, 2 games in, he must obviously be in the frame given the work that he's done early.
Oh, absolutely. He's done a fantastic job. I've actually sat through his pre-match last week. He keeps it very simple. He's very real. So he's in the 2
mix.
matches.
He's in the mix.
Yeah.
Can't do much more. Can't do much more.
He's leading at the moment.
No, that's exactly right. And the great nights keep coming from the North Melbourne Footy Club. 150-year anniversary dinner is coming up. August the 3rd, Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. If you want to get along, celebrate all the great deeds that this football club has accumulated over the years and achieved, nmfc.com.au is the place to go. It'll be a fantastic night.
Yeah, it's something I really want to encourage the supporters to get to. 150 years it's one of the oldest clubs in the world, let alone Australia. So, and to see what we've been through over the 150 years, it's a really good night to celebrate our history.
Thank you for coming by. Before you go, I have to ask you: are you aware that you two nearly ran into each other in the under-19 grand final? What year was it?
1991.
1991. They're the team list. Glenn Archer for North Melbourne, Sam Payne, 28 for Collingwood. Why did that... And it would have ended up like you two probably playing on each other?
Yeah, and I got to be honest, I don't think you would have been a good matchup for me, Glenn.
Would you have gone straight to him?
Well, there's only one way you would have beaten me, is if you actually got a game. Why weren't you out there?
Good point. There's the question. Why weren't you out there?
Well, I wasn't in there. I got dropped.
Why were you dropped? What was the thinking?
Well, I did actually ask the coach on the Thursday night selection why I wasn't in the team, and he said, look, these 2 teams are very evenly matched. I don't even remember those 2 teams, and he said, look, it's going to be a war out there. Probably not ideal conditions for you, Sam. But he said, look, what we're going to do is you're not playing this week, but if it's a draw, you'll be fresh for the replay the following week. I thought that was not bad thinking. But,
so match-up it would have been made in heaven.
It's a joy. I mean, we love watching you play your footy. We all wish you played for our footy team. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Good on you.